Welcome to Life by Design, episode 296. Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Richards. I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Cratio Jug.
Great to be back, like every other time.
Yeah, we're back in the flow, Cratio.
I know, I like it.
Yeah, we are creators of Life by Design with 25 plus certified locations worldwide. Each week on the show, we discuss the principles and the practice of Life by Design. Today's episode, we're talking about pregnancy and exercise, Cratio. This is something that I always find interesting, how people are pregnant and somehow everything changes. And it really leads itself back to this idea of requirements and strategies, something that really is fundamental to us at Life by Design and fundamental to just understanding how your body works. And I'm not suggesting that, we both of our wives have had 2 children at home birth, with non-intervention births as well. And yeah, things are different. You're pregnant. And so obviously there's mechanical differences, there's physiological differences, there's the experience of being pregnant. But what doesn't change is the requirements in terms of a pregnant woman and a non-pregnant woman both need oxygen. A pregnant woman and a non-pregnant woman both need rest, and so on and so forth. And you go down the list of requirements and they don't change. Now, there might be some subtle variations within those requirements that are different. So let's say, as an example, your vitamin D requirement might change, or your sleep requirement might change in terms of the volumes or amounts. But the fact that that is a requirement doesn't change. And the same is true for movement, even though it seems like for the past 50 years, with the medicalization of pregnancy and the medicalization of the birth process, it's almost as if once you get a quote unquote diagnosis of pregnancy, it's bed rest, it's less movement, it's, eat whatever you want, and everything just gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, there's 2 really important things that you brought up there. Number one, and I think this is just the most core, I think this is the basic principle of Life by Design, is that you own your own body, right? Like the fact that somebody's making a recommendation, no matter who it is, whether it's us, whether it's your obstetrician or your doctor, it's up to you whether you want to accept that or not to accept it. And the consequences and the benefits of not accepting it or accepting it are on you, because it's your body and you own it. And number 2 is how, and this is unfortunate, we're focused on the wrong details when it comes to health, right? We focus on the specifics. Well, because I can't snatch or go for a 1-rep max squat while I'm pregnant, you can. It's probably just not the best idea. Now all of a sudden, like squatting and moving your body gets thrown out. The baby gets thrown out with the bathwater, where if you understood the principles of what your body required, this is why this is such an important thing. You still require the same things when you're pregnant, if anything, because you're growing a child and your body is more taxed. What you require becomes doubly important that you get it in the right quality and quantity.
Yeah, that's very well said, Cratio. You really tackled the main point. And it's one of the things I would say I'm most proud of Life by Design and the blueprint that, we've created. And again, there's lots of other movements outside of Life by Design. There's the same things. This is just our brand and our way of speaking about it. But the point is, there's principles about how things happen, and specifically about how the body works. And our principles have really never changed over the last 15 years. And as new research comes out, it continues to support the principles. And that's what we're talking about today, as a research study from the University of Alberta, looking at something as I would consider minimal as 150 minutes of moderate exercise each week. So when we talk about that movement requirement, 150 minutes of moderate exercise, probably cardiovascular training, if I looked in deeper, most likely does not meet the actual requirements of the body, but it does meet them more than doing nothing, which is what a lot of pregnant women are doing. And so when they looked at these women, 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week resulted in a 40% reduction in the risk of developing gestational diabetes, gestational hypertension, pre-eclampsia. It also did not increase the risk of preterm labor, of a major complication. In fact, it lowered the risk of a major complication by 25%. And I think those are the myths that, a lot of pregnant women are dealt, and it's what they make their decisions based off. Oh, the exercise, I'm lifting weights, it's going to make the pregnancy harder. Because I'm going to be so muscular that I'm not going to be able to birth the baby, or that the baby's going to be too small because, I'm exercising. So I'm stealing nutrients from the baby. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about all the things that have gotten delivered to pregnant women, all in the name of, helping them out and keeping their baby safe. But they just don't make sense. And then when you see a research study like this, it just supports the idea that, yes, of course you need to move. Of course you need exercise. And that could be a mix of strength training, conditioning, other types of movement-based things like yoga or Tai Chi. But the point is, the body's designed to move. Whether you're pregnant, whether you're 99 years old, whether you're a 5-year-old, the body's designed to move. And if you meet the requirements, good things happen. And if you don't, bad things happen.
Yeah, there's two really interesting points there. I always am really interested in the recommendations of, I'm using air quotations, of moderate. So this week I had a fun experience. I would consider myself a intermediate. Like my training ability is intermediate. So I'm far from an expert, and I get my programming for the week. And then it was moderate weight, and it was for snatches, and it was 145. And I was like, shit, moderate weight. This is close to my max. This is far from moderate. I was like, are you sure, Jesse, that this is moderate? He's like, yeah, you're not dying on the floor after you're doing this weight. So this is moderate. And to me, it was heavy, right? So we tend to underestimate what moderate versus what intense exercise really is, especially if you don't have like high level experience, which most of us, we're not high level athletes. And the other thing is, if if you're pregnant or wherever you are in life, is not to fake reality. It's one thing to say, I don't feel like exercising because I'm tired, or I'm finding this challenging to do, versus making an excuse or borrowing, a reason for why you can't have it happen.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. There's times, both for Dana and Rochelle, I'm sure there was times where exercise was absolutely not something that they were not just wanting to do, but just physically couldn't do because of the fatigue and the exhaustion, or whether it be just feeling nauseous. Totally understand. But it wasn't as if they were telling themselves, I don't need to exercise. My doctor said exercise isn't important, or in fact, it could be negative, which is even worse.
Right.
It's saying,
that's my point. Yes.
Yeah, there's no way I could exercise right now. And I get that. Today, by no means am I making this comparison on an equal level, but today, after we finish our call, I have to go in and get my wisdom teeth out. And I'm absolutely not excited about that in any way whatsoever. And I'm absolutely not going to be training after I go do it. And it's not that exercise isn't important for me today. It's that after cutting 4 teeth out of my mouth, I'm probably not going to feel like I want to exercise. And so as a pregnant mom, as other situations in your life, there's going to be times where you don't feel like it. I get that. There's times where I feel like having a pizza and a bucket of ice cream. So you know what? I do it, but I never tell myself that it's good. I never tell myself that it has no negative effects. I think you're just really come to the core of all of life by design, and that's living in reality and making your decisions from there, knowing that there's consequences and rewards based on what the decision's going to be.
Yeah, let's just make sure why this is important. Faking reality multiplied over many decisions over a long time leads to you being completely disconnected from your self-responsibility in your life and your life in general. It's just a bad place to be when you feel like somebody else is dictating the pace of your life. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody.
Yeah, I look back over the last 20 years of my life, and there's a reason it's the core fundamental point in Life by Design. It's because it's the number one thing that's had the biggest effect on my life. And I would honestly, thank you a lot for that, Cracio, and, your clarification of those ideas in terms of the development of Life by Design. And I know that, it took you a long time to come to those conclusions as well. So thank you for shortcutting that process for me, because it's made a huge impact. And I think for a pregnant mom, recognize that you're pregnant, right? That's just what it is. And you're going to have a baby or multiple babies, and that means certain things. So what can you do in terms of exercise? What should you do? What shouldn't you do, Horatio, especially if you have or haven't exercised in the past?
Again, this is I think that's the most important question here. I think there's a big difference between somebody who has been training at a reasonably high level to high level that gets pregnant versus somebody who says, okay, I'm pregnant, I'm hearing this information for the first time, and now I would like to get involved in exercise to help my pregnancy. So I think you need to know where your starting point is. And again, I always think the best place to start if you're unsure is to find a facility or to find somebody, and there's many people available that are really good at this, and ask for some help if you're struggling and if you don't know, because uncertainty will just lead to, uncertainty always leads to anxiety and fear, and those are just not great places to be if you're starting something new.
Yeah. More and more I see, being in practice, running training facilities, having a cafe, all the things that we're doing, the more and more I see the value in having a coach in lots of different areas of your life. And you were already mentioning, as an intermediate to upper intermediate trainer, you have a coach. And, we think about business, we all work with each other and coach each other. We also have other business coaches that we work with, even though we coach and consult other people in business. I have a corrective chiropractor. I don't check my own spine. It's something that the more time that passes, the more I see the value of having somebody. And this is really, I think, what the point of having a coach is. And this is just, I don't know where it resonated for me or I read it somewhere, but it just clicked in the last couple of months. Having a coach helps you collapse time. And that's the name of the game, right? Is at 43, just had my birthday, more and more I see how fast time is going. And you see the kids grow up and you see how long it takes to create something, how long it's taken to build, say, Life by Design, or to build my fitness levels. It is just not an overnight process. So at this stage, if I collapse time and I can shortcut this process, it would be crazy for me not to figure out a way to make those investments versus making other investments in a bunch of garbage that is not actually benefiting or improving my life.
Well, here, let me give you a specific example. So, Rochelle, 3 months ago, the goal was I want to do a pull-up or a chin-up. And it took her 3 months to get a chin-up because it was programmed for her correctly with the proper progressions, and I've seen people, like literally it's been 2, 3, 4 years that at the gym they've been struggling to make that movement happen for themselves. And Rochelle was able to do it in the shorter period of time, 3 months compared to years. And she'll never say anything because she thinks that she's bragging about herself. So I'll brag for her, but it was all made possible because somebody who is knowledgeable, wrote the programming for her. So my point is, if this is something that you're new and you're pregnant and you're like, okay, I like this idea, but I'm really scared. I don't know where to begin. Find somebody to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if you're pregnant, because your timeline is pretty short as it is. So if you're trying to maximize the benefit of your pregnancy, it's time to look for somebody who can collapse that time for you. And in terms of the other health boosting requirements, just follow the blueprint, follow the template. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention these brain-body connections. So making sure that the spine and neurological systems have been checked, that they're functioning at least as close to optimal as possible. If you've never had it examined and you're pre-pregnancy, getting your body ready to have a baby, or if you're already pregnant, it's a vital time either way to make sure that your body is prepped and ready to go. So brain-body connection, find a corrective chiropractor or contact us. Let us find you one. Eating by design. So real food first, quality proteins, fats, fill in the gap. So start adding in a omega-3 supplement, vitamin D, and boost that vitamin D upwards, 5,000 minimum, probably up into the 10,000 category. And then start your movement, right? Start exercising, start training, whether it's on your own if you have those skills and capabilities. Otherwise, find somebody and have them help you do it. So guys, check out the show notes at lifebydesign.com/podcast. Find today's episode and you can see the article that we talked about today. You can also download the Move by Design manual for free. So go check that out. And thank you so much, as always, for joining the drive to 1 million families worldwide living life by design.